Welcome to Franchise Fix. My name is Ted, and on this podcast, I discuss TV shows based on franchises that we all know and love. Today we're discussing Star Wars The Bad Batch, Episode 4, Cornered. Without wasting any more time, let's get into the episode. Spoilers ahead. So, we open this episode on Clone Force 99's ship where they're discussing what their next stop's going to be. They're low on fuel and rations, and comm chatter has the ship's signature on the Empire's wanted list, so they decide they want to land on the closest planet, which is Pantora. You know, where the Pantoran people are from. Tech also mentions that the only way that he can scramble the ship's signature is if they land, so this is the perfect time to regroup, make repairs, and gather supplies. When they land, the fuel station worker takes a bribe to skip scanning their ship in, but calls to report to a bounty hunter anyway, looking to double dip on his payday. While Tech and Wrecker tend to the ship, Hunter, Omega, and Echo go to town for a supply run. While in town, they notice the Pantoran people are cheering clone troopers on as they march through the streets celebrating the end of the war. They end up at a pawn shop, and they try to pawn some things off to get more credits, but they end up having no luck at first. The merchant at the shop asks how much for the droid as he points to Echo, who's in disguise. Hunter slyly tells Echo that he'll sell him for now to get credits, but he'll give him a signal to break out later. Since Echo isn't a droid, he shouldn't have trouble escaping since he's unaffected by restraining bolts. Echo agrees, but initially is insulted by the offer of 2,000 credits from the shopkeeper, and they end up haggling their way to 3,000. Meanwhile, Omega wanders off during the sale to retrieve a toy, but is found by Fennec Shand, the bounty hunter who was called to track them. If that name and her face seem familiar, Fennec appears in The Mandalorian, played in live action by Ming-Na Wen, who also voices her in this episode. To give a brief refresher as to who she is, she's a bounty hunter tasked with retrieving Grogu from Din Djarin in Season 1 of The Mandalorian, but Din defeats her and leaves her for dead. She returns in Season 2 having been saved by none other than Boba Fett, who survived the Sarlacc pit and seems to have a new code of honor at this point, thanks to Boba Fett. That is, seemingly until we see Fennec and Boba Fett take over Jabba's palace at the end of the season, but that's the last we see of her. It should also be noted that this show is chronologically occurring prior to The Mandalorian, so the Fennec we meet here is younger and seemingly more ruthless as a bounty hunter. Anyway, Hunter finds them together and Fennec opens fire. After a short knife and blaster fight, she incapacitates Hunter, but Omega escapes in the chaos. Hunter tells the rest of the crew about the situation, but Tech says that they'll need maintenance droids to get the ship running quickly to escape. Echo then breaks out of the shop with some new astromech friends in response, and they proceed to the ship to finish the repairs. Tech then hacks the security cameras to direct Wrecker to Omega. Unfortunately, when he meets up with Omega, he's quickly met by Fennec, who incapacitates him and chases Omega. Hunter then comes after her again in an aerial speeder chase, which results in the rescue of Omega and the defeat of Fennec, for now. More on that speeder chase later. To end the episode, the crew comes to the understanding that Fennec was a bounty hunter sent to find Omega, and they're determined to find out who she is and who hired her. So, with the episode summary out of the way, I wanted to share some of my thoughts on the episode. First, I'm noticing a bit of a trend when it comes to Tech. So far, he has yet to meet a situation involving technology that he cannot master. He always goes as far as to say, "Of course I can do that," whenever presented with a challenge. Pretty convenient plot device, but then again, that's his specialty. Staying on the subject of trends, Wrecker is establishing himself as comic relief in this series, with examples from this episode being when he mentions that they're getting the hang of civilian life after bribing the station attendant, and when he gets upset about missing out on all the action when he hears local law enforcement sirens. Nothing groundbreaking here, but it's nice to see the roles of each character continue to be established for the audience so we can know what to expect as we continue forward in the series. The addition of Fennec Shand in the episode was a fun touch as it connects two Star Wars stories in The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian, but also connects different eras as this show deals in the beginnings of the Galactic Empire and Mando deals in the direct aftermath of its fall. I also thought that Ming-Na Wen did a great job with her voice acting, and it was nice to see that she was able to play the character again, even in a different format. Speaking of Fennec, the speeder chase between her and Hunter in this episode was great. I'm usually not as impressed with the action in these computer-generated animated shows as I am with live action, but the choreography, so to speak, was fantastic. We had Fennec showing off how ruthless she was in her youth as she throws a man to his death off of his speeder to hijack it, and she kills law enforcement officers who are chasing her with her blaster. On Hunter's end, he shows some nifty flight skills while riding a speeder bike and is able to take out the engines on Fennec's speeder with his blaster. He barely saves Omega as she's dropped from the transport she was on, and he uses a detonator to take out Fennec's speeder to end the chase. Omega also gets an honorable mention from me for having the wherewithal to unload the truck bed of the transport she was on to knock Fennec away from her onto another speeder. Really well done action scene. Overall, this was a really fun episode for me. We got great character moments, awesome action, an added element of danger for the crew now with Fennec chasing them, and a familiar connection to another Star Wars story that will surely please fans. Nothing too groundbreaking happened to drive the plot forward, but the added element of bounty hunters raises the stakes. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Alright, sorry about that. Well, thanks for joining me in the discussion in the latest episode of The Bad Batch. Check in next week as I discuss Episode 5. Lastly, please like and subscribe on YouTube if you like our content. Follow us at Franchise Flicks on Twitter, and be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. If you want to follow us further, you can follow Andy at twitch.tv/Darth Buckman and on TikTok at Darth Buckman. You can follow Zach on Twitch at twitch.tv/GrandMoffZZ and on Twitter at GrandMoffZZ. Last but not least, check out the All Star Wars virtual book club created by Zach called Sacred Jedi Texts on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. Thanks, and catch you on the next one.